Hey, friendly neighborhood immunologist here, and today's video is a requested video from a few subscribers to give a little bit more background about myself. So I'm going to start with some education and then get into a few more personal things after that. So let's get started. All right, so I've had my PhD since 2012. Yeah, but my college education started in Texas, where I spent a lot of time growing up. I went to a large state school. I did graduate in the top of my class in high school, and I got scholarships to every college I wanted to go to. But my parents sat me down and explained to me that we actually still didn't have the money to send me to any old college I wanted. I had wanted to go to a private school, and they showed me how much I'd have to pay in room and board and that we couldn't afford it. So I ended up going to a state school, and I worked at a sushi restaurant for 2 years. I think working and waiting tables is a really good character building experience for everyone. I think the world might be a slightly kinder place if we were all working in the service industry during some point in our lives. But yeah, saved up some money and then went to college. And I graduated summa cum laude in 2006 with my degree in microbiology. I actually started to do research halfway through my college experience. There wasn't the ability to do like real clinical microbiology, so I ended up doing environmental microbiology, which still gave me a lot of great skills. And then after that, I went home and I applied to graduate school. And my first job out of college was measuring the amount of bacteria in ocean water. And what you do is you go out in waders and you bring a bottle, and the bottle is autoclaved, meaning it's completely sterile inside of it. And you dip in the water and you bring it back and you filter it, and you literally count for E. coli. E. coli tells you how much fecal matter, how much poop is in the water. And if it hit a certain level, we had to call the Texas State Department and they would shut down the beach. That was my first job out of college. It was nice to go outside. You also had to count the number of birds and dead fish on the beach, so pretty glamorous, but still nice to be outside. And we closed very few beaches. I think the year I worked there, we only closed one beach. It wasn't so bad, but hey, somebody's out there measuring poop in the water and keeping you safe. There you go. So then I got to do more clinical research. I got into a graduate program in the Midwest, and I found a mentor that was studying bacterial infections in the brain, specifically looking at host-pathogen interaction, meaning I got to measure bacteria and the immune response to bacteria, which was just fascinating. And I got a government grant called a fellowship to study T cells and bacterial infection. And I had about 5 publications from that experience. And I did a lot of different techniques measuring the immune system. I did ELISA, did that for like 5 years. Flow cytometry, did that for about 4 years. Did a lot of polymerase chain reaction. I have extracted so much RNA from microglia and astrocytes. I can definitely say I'm an expert in that. But yeah, that's what I did in graduate school. I really had an amazing mentor who pushed me to be the best researcher that I could be. And I did learn to do rodent surgeries called stereotactic surgery. And that helped me in the next stages of my career. So then I moved to my postdoc. Now, when you get your PhD, you have to do something called a defense. So you work for about 3 years. There's an exam in the middle called a qualifying exam or a comprehensive exam where you have to prepare a mock government grant and defend it. So I did that. And then at the very end, you defend your research. So I have a 275-page dissertation, and it has about 300 references, meaning I read at least, 380 different papers just to graduate with my PhD. And I graduated in 2012 after starting graduate school in 2007. But yeah, it was a really difficult experience, but you come out much stronger. Definitely did some counseling in the middle. That was helpful. All right. So then in my postdoc, I moved to a different, very prestigious place in the Midwest. to study Alzheimer's disease and the immune system. So after working with bacteria for a while, I realized that people who are affected by bacterial infections, it is very serious and it's important to study. But I could help more people by studying Alzheimer's disease. And at the same time, I actually found out that my father had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. So then I had a personal reason also to switch my career interests. So I got another government grant there. It was on autophagy or cell eating and enhancing immune cells to improve Alzheimer's disease. I think I had about 5 publications there as well. And I've published in the Journal of Neuroscience, the Journal of Immunology, the Journal of Neuroinflammation, and Brain Behaviors and Immunity, as well as scientific reports. So I understand the publication process really well and what it takes to do repeatable and rigorous science. So in the middle of all that, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I had TA'd for classes in graduate school, and it really gave me a lot of energy and a lot of joy to help students understand complex material. And then I didn't have any opportunities to teach during the first year of my postdoc, but afterwards I applied to the Johns Hopkins Center for Talented Youth, and that's a program that Johns Hopkins runs for high school students. And I taught one summer. My boss was amazing, letting me have the summer off to teach. That doesn't happen all the time when you're doing research. So I got to go to Pennsylvania in Lancaster and teach history of disease. And I just had so much fun. From that point, I was pretty sure that I wanted teaching to be my focus. I wanted to do research if I could, but research was my focus. So then after that, the next year, they called me back that summer and they said, do you want to do what you did last year, except in Saudi Arabia? And I was a little bit floored. I had to think about it a lot. I wanted to go and teach those young women. They told me, in fact, if I didn't go, that the young women may not get a STEM class. They wouldn't get the science class. And so I was like, yes, of course, I'm going to go and I'm going to teach these young women. And I could do a whole video just about that. It was a fascinating experience. But at the end of the day, when you meet other people in other countries, you find out that we're incredibly similar. Yeah. They ended up getting sick of the cafeteria food and staging like a pizza revolution. And they all knew what Disney princess they were, and they could quote Pride and Prejudice. It was amazing. Okay, so after that, I decided to look for my next job after my postdoctoral research in Alzheimer's disease. And there was a college about an hour away looking for a visiting assistant professor. And I applied to that and I got it. And that was 6 years ago. This is the start of the 6th year of me teaching undergraduates, which is really my dream job. I've been continuing to do research. It is primarily teaching. In the summer, you get to do a lot of concentrated research, and I'm studying Alzheimer's disease and microglia. There's 2 different projects. One is studying how microglia respond to hormone changes during menopause, and the other project is just getting started, but I want to see if CBD oil can help microglia go into an anti-inflammatory state, and then seeing if the anti-inflammatory state will improve the microglia's ability to get rid of the plaques during Alzheimer's disease and just generally preserve the neuron health because the microglia are in an M2 anti-inflammatory state. So that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years or so. And I love teaching. That's why I got started on YouTube. YouTube has been a really interesting experience. I basically wanted to be a science translator. And what that means is I'm really good at understanding the underlying mechanisms for immune cells. Yeah, so I've been studying immune cells since 2007 and just discovering how much I loved teaching. And then during the pandemic, I was talking to a lot of my friends and family and realizing that I wanted to be a science translator for everyone, for anyone who wanted to tune in on YouTube and learn more about the immune system. So I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a PhD. I am not trying to give you medical advice. I'm here as a sounding board. If you want to ask me questions, I would be happy to bat back and forth hypotheses, talk about data. So I'm really here to tell you how the immune system works and then help you play through different ideas. I am not giving medical advice. I am not a medical doctor. All right, so how did I end up becoming an immunologist and a scientist? A lot of it has to do with my parents and my childhood. So, my dad was in the Navy, which meant that as a child we moved around a lot. So, I've lived in California, Texas, Florida, Virginia, and most of the time was in Texas though. And my mom was a medical technologist, which means that she basically ran tests at a hospital to see what was wrong with people. So she knew a lot about science as well. There's a picture of me. I'm 2 years old. I'm looking through a microscope. I mean, it was just going to happen. And my dad loved science. After he retired from the Navy, he became a middle school science teacher, and he was really great at it. And every weekend, we would do something sciencey. You didn't even know you were doing an experiment. We would take apart a microwave and take out the super powered magnet and like do all kinds of crazy stuff. Or we would build a steam engine, or he would help me see, we'd build something with electrical wires and we'd use regular water and salt water and see how much better the electrical current went through salt water. I mean, we were forever doing science together. And so I loved it and I was good at it. And as a kid, in elementary school, you do well on a science test and someone says, oh, you're good at science. You do well on a science test and someone says, oh, you're good at science. It was really my mom and my dad. But you hear it enough, you think, oh, even though I'm a woman, science is for me because I'm good at it. You should do what you're good at. But yeah, so it was my parents, and it was also growing up being in the hospital a lot. So I realize now during the pandemic that people have different experiences with the hospital. Mine is a very positive one. So as a child, I had asthma and I couldn't breathe. And this was before Advair was invented. This was before there were you basically had a little puff that you could take with you, a little albuterol puff, and that was it. So if I ever couldn't breathe, I would have to go to the hospital right away and they'd give me a breathing treatment. And so to me, those bright lights, those sterile coats, those just, everything is so stark about a hospital. But to me, it was so relaxing because it was literally the first time I could take a deep breath. So the hospital has always been a place where I could breathe and feel better. So there's a lot of trust there with me. I trust doctors and nurses, and honestly, they've saved my life so many times. I also have an anaphylactic allergy, and this was before labels were on food. There were no allergy labels on food when I was growing up. So Halloween was a disaster, and there were teachers that didn't believe me. I had a teacher actually make me eat plain M&Ms, and I'm like, no, I'm going to have a reaction. And they're like, no, it's a plain M&M. And I had a reaction because peanut allergies are very severe, and they're on the nanogram level, meaning if a peanut even touched something, I can detect that. It's just, ugh. So yes, back in the hospital again, getting stabbed with epinephrine, getting steroids, but all of that made me feel better. So yeah, between my parents loving science, exposing me to science early, and just sharing with me, their love of science and my illnesses, I was in the hospital a lot. I was around doctors and nurses, and I just, I come from a place where science is trusted and science has helped make my life better, and I just want to share that with all of you. And as far as the YouTube channel goes, I started it during the pandemic when people were asking me a lot of questions about how viruses work and how the immune system works and how vaccines work. And then I realized that I wanted to share that with everyone who was interested. And the best part has been the comment section. I still remember my first video thinking, ooh, 400 views isn't a lot. And I was starting to get caught up in a numbers game. And then somebody left me a comment and I responded to them, and they responded back and said, thank you. I was like, oh my God, it doesn't matter how many people look at my video. I mean, I have a job, so I'm literally here to talk to people. I have been talking to people in New Zealand and Vietnam and Singapore and in India. It's been amazing. So yes, obviously the comment section has a few nasty grams here and there, a few people telling me to go away, but that's okay. because overall, 97-98% of people have been awesome and amazing and engaging in discussion. And I just look forward to keeping up with the channel and talking to you as much as I can, even though this semester is crazy busy. All right, hope you found that interesting and helpful. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comment section. And otherwise, yeah, stay healthy. Take care.